my goodness, welcome back. Today we are doing another game review, and this one has a moral to the story. I lately have been trying to switch it up a little off Malice and learn Canine for Hire, and I've been wanting to learn Canine for Hire for a while, built the deck a while ago, but I have been really hesitant because I finally felt like I was able to walk with Malice, and then going to a new deck, I once again feel like an absolute novice, and it takes forever and it's so frustrating. So the moral of this story is that learning a new deck is difficult, and have some patience and grace with yourself. I did 2x speed this video, but it was a 30-minute singular game because I was having to read and think. So I didn't know what to do in all the different situations the way that I do with Malice, and that is perfectly normal. It's perfectly okay when you're learning a new deck and knowing I know how to play Malice, and a lot of that does transfer over to making me faster at learning Canine for Hire, but I don't know Canine for Hire. So we're going to talk about the chain and how the game went, and looking at the cards and the different types of effects. And yeah, so it is me on Canine for Hire, and my boyfriend is playing Yummy Mitsu Pile. Pretty sure it's Yummy Mitsu Pile. Okay, so like I said, I did 2x speed this up, and it still took 14 minutes, and we really didn't even get to finish the game because by the end of it, we were both so confused as to what was occurring. Also, we were playing in a public space, which, yeah, for learning a deck is probably not the absolute best place. I have played against him playing Canine for Hire, so I have a general idea of what the cards do, but you can even see that I had to really look at my hand and be like, wait a second. Also, prior to this, I had not looked up combo videos. I apparently like to just struggle. I don't like memorizing combos. I mean, I get the value in it, but I like to use my brain and come up with stuff. Anyway, I go ahead and inherent summon Canine Azuna because she has the text that says, if your opponent controls if your opponent has 2 or more cards in their hand, you can normal summon her without tributing. So if you notice, Azuna has 5 stars, which she's a 5-star review. Anyway, sorry. You can only normal summon monsters that are 4 or less. At 5, you'd have to tribute, meaning I would have to take one of my monsters on the field and send it to grave. But the canines are great because they have that little workaround where you can normal summon them if your opponent controls 2 or more cards. So if you're playing against canine, let's say you're playing against a canine deck, you want to not have you don't want 2 cards in your hand when you pass that turn. And my opponent knew this. He would always only have 1 card in his hand, which was no bueno for me. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and summon her, and then she has an on summon trigger effect. So on summon, it's her also the canine cards I think are so difficult to read because the way that the cards are ordered, their on summon effects are the last thing. And normally the last thing is restrictions. I want to make a video talking about how cards are typically kind of broken down in the text. Canine's weird. It's literally the very, very, very last line that says, if this card is normal special summoned, you can send 1 canine card from your deck to the graveyard except Canine Azuna. So I have used my normal summon. This does count as my normal summon, but she's able, so maybe it's not an inherent summon. She's able to normal summon herself through an effect. Correct me. It's probably not an inherent summon then. Anyway, and then I'm going to do the trigger effect, which is an on summon effect. To send a canine monster from my deck to the grave, I am going to send Canine Lupus. The reason for sending Canine Lupus is because he has an effect that when he is in grave, during the main phase, if your opponent has activated a monster effect in the hand or graveyard, quick effect, you can special summon this card from your hand or graveyard. We've already done, he's at a 5, right? So we're not going to be able to normal summon him, and I could special summon him from my graveyard, but you could special summon him from hand, but I don't know why people do it this way, but the canine people, you send Lupus because then you're going to want to special summon him from grave. So we're going to send Lupus. He does not have an effect when he's sent to grave. This is something I have to wait for my opponent to, especially if it's my turn 1, I have to wait for my opponent to ash or, I don't know, effect failure. Basically, they need to activate a monster effect in hand, which is normally going to be a hand trap. I'm then going to Fossil Dig, which is going to allow me to add a dino. So here's where we're going to start going into the Fur Hire. I'm going to add Rex Fright for Hire to my hand. Now keep in mind, I have already normal summoned, so I'm going to have to figure out different ways to get my For Hire stuff out. And so what I do is I already have Rex Ride For Hire in my hand. So the reason that I searched Rex Fright For Hire, the baby Rex, I searched baby Rex because I have Big Brother Rex already in my hand, and Big Brother Rex has a way to special summon himself out and another canine. So Rex Ride For Hire, let me back this up so you can actually read what Rex Ride For Hire says. And that says you can reveal this card in your hand, and then notice it's activating, has that punctuation. Special summon one monster for hire from your hand except Rex Ride For Hire. So you can't special another one of him. I played a game where I had 3 of these in my hand, y'all. It was awful. Then special summon this card. So this is activating in hand. So I am going to attempt to special summon the Rex, the baby that I searched, but you can also special summon any For Hire card that you have in your hand. And then I'm going to special summon himself. I've already done my normal summon, so all my summoning is going to have to be special summon. Now, baby Rex does have a trigger effect. He has an on summon trigger effect that says, let me go ahead and pull it up so I can read it to you. If this card is normal or special summoned, that is important because he was special summoned just now off of his older version of himself. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add 1 spell Trap For Hire from your deck to your hand. So I am now going to chain 1, do the on summon effect. And I believe Rex does not have, the bigger one does not have one. So trigger effect on summon, I am going to debate what to add. So there's the field spell, there's mayhem. So there's the field spell and there's 2 quick play spells. So this is me, again, the thinking. This is double sped up. If you're teaching someone a new deck or you're playing against someone who's learning a new deck, the best thing possible is just a lot of patience. I really appreciate the patience that the people in my life have shown me because this took a really long time. So I search Rookie For Hire, and then I am going to activate Rookie For Hire. Remember that quick play spells are working at quick effect speed. You can activate them from your hand on your turn, but if I wanted to do Rookie For Hire on my opponent's turn, I would have to set it. So this says tribute 1 monster. So I'm going to tribute the Rex. Tribute means send to graveyard. Special summon 1 monster for hire from your hand or deck whose level is 1 higher or lower. So I tributed a 2. So I need to either special summon a 1 or a 3 from hand or deck. So this is where most of them are 3. I have 2 choices. I have a Dampa and a Beat. I go ahead and I special summon Beat. Beat does not have any type of on summon effect. Instead, she has a trigger effect when another For Hire is special summoned to the field while she is on the field. And now we're going to do a big think because I got to figure out what else to do. So I go into Canine Ripper. This is going to allow me to search. So also, For Hire has a lock, meaning there is a link monster you go into that after you do it, you can only do For Hire stuff. So I'm also trying to do as much as I possibly can before I go into like the lock part of the combo. So Canine Ripper, you can make with 2 level 5 monsters. This is an XZ summon. We haven't talked about this in the Learn to Play series, but we will. So 2 level 5 monsters, I overlay them and I special summon Canine Ripper. She then has the ignition effect. So at any point after the summon, it does not start a chain. But if my opponent has a quick effect and things like imperm function at quick effect speed, they can imperm in order to negate her. So I can't even attempt to activate the effect. Often, though, you can wait for someone to activate an ignition effect and then imperm it because the chain resolves backwards. So imperm will negate her and then she can't go through. My opponent doesn't have anything. Honestly, if he did, that's another thing. When someone's learning a deck, even if you can stop them, it's in everyone's best interest to allow the person to at least attempt to play. So you can detach 1 material from this card, add 1 canine card from your deck to your hand. Then, if your opponent has activated a monster effect this turn, you can set a canine quick play. My opponent has not done that, so I am just going to do the ignition effect to detach and search. This is me reading it to make sure that I understand, and then I have to make a choice. It does matter what you detach, what you have in graveyard. That's, again, what makes learning new decks so difficult because all these choices do, in fact, matter. So I'm going to go ahead and search a case for canine, and I add it to hand. Now, this is going to turn into an error later on my part. I then do Rex Fright For Hire has a quick effect of when he is in graveyard. So it says, during the main phase, if you control a monster for hire, So there is that requirement, and I control B. Quick effect. So I could do this on my opponent's turn, but I'm choosing to do it on my own turn. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one card for higher. Hold on. I gotta sneeze. God bless me. Where was I? You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one card for higher in your graveyard. That's cost. So banishing and then targeting, and then either add it to your hand or special summon it if it was a monster. So I'm going to banish. I'm going to target what I detached from my, wait, no. I'm looking in my deck. Why am I looking in my deck? Do I cheat? What am I doing? Girl, it says in your graveyard. Okay, that was illegal. That was, hold on. Whoop. Back it up, Terry. This is what I'm saying. Learning decks is hard. And I watched through this and I made this video and I still didn't catch it until right now I'm explaining it. And I'm like, wait a second. Okay, this was illegal. Rex says you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one for higher in your graveyard. And you special summon the one from your graveyard. I went into my deck and got Raphael because I wanted to do his effect. But technically, the only target I should have had was the Big Rex that I had detached from the Ripper. So we've already cheated. It's okay. This game did not matter, and it ended up being super, super weird anyway. So there is a trigger effect that when he is special summoned, you can excavate. Excavate means show yourself and your opponent the top whatever cards of your deck, and then you can add one to hand. So he says you can excavate as many for higher. So you can excavate as many cards as you have for higher monsters on the field, excluding himself. So I have Beat and I have Rex. And so I'm going to excavate 2. Excavate means that, well, all searches, by the way, in Yu-Gi-Oh!, anytime you search a card, you show your opponent. But this is different than drawing. When you draw a card, you don't show your opponent. Excavating is you are showing them and then adding one to hand. I decided to add the Ghost spell. I can't believe when I was editing this, I didn't catch the Rex. I will tell you, making these videos is definitely making me a better Yu-Gi-Oh! Player because it's forcing me to read with more, like, focused nature to try to learn. So at this point, we're doing ourselves a big think. I decided to play Canine for Hire because I think they're cute. I think the for hire cards are really cute. When Fandora came out, that was, I believe Fandora, the field spell, was the additional support. And suddenly it was a cute deck that could actually compete. Other than when I was playing Yummy, I have not really been one to go like full meta because like Malice is still not technically, she's not like the actual full meta right now. Okay, so I am going to link summon into Keel. So link summoning, it'll give you the materials that you have to use. So similar to like Xyz summon where you overlay. So Xyz summon, you put the Xyz monster on top of the 2 cards. Link summoning, you send them to graveyard. So this says 2 monsters with different names, and it's a link 2. So I send exactly 2 monsters, 2 just regular monsters. We'll talk about link summoning in a different video. Anyway, this has a trigger effect. If this card is link summoned, you can set 1 spell trap for hire or 1 Fandora, the Flying Fortress, from your deck. Also, you cannot special summon for the rest of this turn except monsters for hire. So this is the lock. I can't do any more canine stuff, which is why, oh my, there's another mistake coming up. Oh, I knew it. I was smart, but I also was dumb. But it's okay because we're learning. So I'm going to go ahead and set Fandora. So setting means I place it face down, but you can activate it immediately upon set. So then I am going to activate Fandora, which says once per turn during your main phase, you can add 1 monster for hire. I'm going to add Dampa, and then you discard a card. I am discarding Rex because it has that quick effect to banish itself to special summon from grave. From grave, past Reina, from grave. At this point, I go back to doing a big think to try to figure out I'm locked, right? So on top of being locked, that Raphael is not a level 5 monster. So that monster at the top and all of the canine, like if I want to do canine stuff on my opponent's turn, which I can because I have the Lupus quick effect in grave, you need to have 2 level 5 monsters. So I have not set myself up for any type of like actual interaction. So again, here I am reading and just continuing to read. This is twice the speed. Bless my boyfriend's heart for being so patient with me when I'm learning, because this is quite a bit of thinking that I'm having to do. I'm locked into Cane. I'm locked into Fur Hire, so I can't go SB. I end up setting one and passing. Okay, there's going to be a mistake coming up. I'm going to tell you right now. I set Case for Canine. Case for Canine is a continuous spell. You can set and activate quick play spells on your opponent's turn. You cannot set and activate continuous spells on your opponent's turn. And during the draw phase, I decide to activate a Case for Canine. You cannot activate a continuous spell on your opponent's turn. This is what he is explaining to me, is that like field spells and continuous spells, you can't. So what we end up doing is we back it up to main 2 to allow me to resolve a Case for Canine. Again, so much of this is learning. I end up summoning or adding the Azuna to hand. Now it's my opponent's turn. Let me move myself over. I'm probably going to run through this a little bit faster because there is some chain stuff that happens even though it is incorrect. So he is going to normal summon Cupsy Yummy. I know what these cards do because I played Yummy for a really, 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 really long time. As soon as it came out, I bought a core. I have Starlights. I love Yummy. Normal summon Cupsy Yummy and then do the trigger effect. And I have a quick effect. Ash Blossom is a quick effect. She says when your opponent, he is trying to add a card to his hand. So Cupsy, the trigger effect says that you can search and add a Yummy card to hand. And I'm saying, nope, I'm not going to do that. I chain to Ash Blossom. And so then he is no longer able to search. He is going to link his Cupsy off for Snatchy. Snatchy has an on-summon trigger effect, which is going to allow him to set the field spell. He is going to set a Mignon. Mignon does not activate on set like Malice and Underground does, so he can choose when he's going to activate the Mignon. Most players will do it right away. Some choose not to. So he, at this point, I believe, is attempting to activate the Mignon he's activating the Mignon to summon from grave. So I can then chain Ghost Bell, which is a quick effect from hand. And because he's trying to summon from grave, I say no. I am checking to make sure that Mignon did not activate on set, because if you negate the activation of a field spell, then it gets destroyed. But Mignon does not activate on set, so he's fine. He's going to do some Wanted. Okay, so that's what this deck is. It used to be the Triff Pile. Okay, this deck used to be the Triff Pile. And that made me cry. So he's going to search Diabellstar. This is going to summon by discarding the Mignon. It does not activate, so I cannot respond to it summoning or the activation of it summoning. And then it has a trigger effect, which is going to allow him to search. He is going to get another Wanted, and he is going to set the Wanted. He is then going to use the Dark Magician of Destruction, summon into that. That has a trigger effect of when it is summoned. He is going to add Magician Soul because Magician Soul mentions Dark Magician. He's going to activate Magician Soul in hand, sending another Diabellstar from hand in order to, I believe this is going to let him add something. Let me read the card. Hold on. Okay, so Magician Soul says you can send up to 2 spell traps from your hand and or field to the graveyard, draw that many cards. If this card is in your hand, so it is activating from his hand, which is going to allow me, this is going to make all my Canine stuff live, right? Because Canine has the, if your opponent is activating stuff from their hand or graveyard. Magician Soul is activating in hand. You can send 1 level 6 or higher spellcaster monster from your deck to the graveyard. So he's actually sending the Diabellstar from deck to graveyard. Then activate one of these effects. You can either special summon this card, or you can send this card to the graveyard and then special summon 1 Dark Magician or 1 Dark Magician Girl from your graveyard. So he is attempting to special summon it from hand. The sending was cost. So it's activating in hand. It's sending for cost. It's attempting to special summon itself. I am going to then chain Ripper. So Ripper has a quick effect, which says, let me go ahead and pull it up so I can actually read it exactly to you. So Canine Ripper has a quick effect when your opponent activates a monster effect in the hand or graveyard. So Magician Soul is activating in hand, so I can now chain Ripper, detach 1 material from this card, and negate the effect. So the Diabellstar is going to get sent for cost no matter what. Cost is already sent, but I am attempting to negate the effect to special summon the Soul, or if he had Dark Magician engrave, which he doesn't, to special summon those. So I'm chaining Ripper, and then Magician Soul will be negated. So now he is going to need to go into more yummy items and such. So he is going to link summon, I believe. Oh no, synchro summon. No, link summon into Camellia. Camellia, and I've said this in other videos, she's an ignition effect, and that is really important because it means that if you have a quick effect, you can respond. You can start a chain. Basically, you're not responding. You can start a chain. So ignition effect is going to allow him to send a Sky Striker card from deck to grave. He's going to send Engage. That's my gorgeous Engage that I'm letting him borrow. Then he's going to link into Kagari. Kagari has the trigger effect to add back the Engage. So a lot of the Sky Striker cards have this, the spell cards. If you control no monsters in your main monster zone, I actually think even the monsters. Hold on a second. Let me read Kagari. I think she also has that. Oh no, so it's the spell cards that say if you control no monsters in your main monster zone. The Kagari is in the link zone, extra monster zone. So he controls no monsters in his main monster zone. You can add, there we go, add one Sky Striker card from your deck to your hand, except Engage. Then if you have 3 or more spells, you can see he's fanning out his graveyard to see how many spells he has. You can draw a card. So he is activating the Engage in order to add. He is going to add Hornet Drones, which is another, if you control no monsters in your main monster zone, it's going to allow him to summon a token. It's going to summon the token. And at this point, I'm like thinking, because remember, he did Magician's Soul. Okay, so here's the deal. Magician Lupus says, if your opponent during the main phase has activated a monster effect in hand or graveyard. So this is one of those quick effects that's the reason it's a quick effect, not a trigger effect. I did not have to do it immediately after he did the Magician's Soul in hand. I can wait. It has already met its requirement of if your opponent has, during the main phase, if your opponent has activated a monster effect in the hand or graveyard this turn. I met it. So I can do this quick effect whenever. I decide to chain Lupus or start a chain. So on resolution of the token being summoned, because summoning does not start a chain, my opponent does not have any quick or trigger effects. So then it looks at me and I do have a quick effect. So I decide to chain one Lupus. This is where I was saying that doing the case for K9, not only did I mess up by doing it on my opponent's turn, which you can't because it's a continuous spell, I needed to get the Azuna summoned in order to have another level 5. Because if you read the rest of Lupus, it says immediately after this effect resolves. So during your opponent's turn, you can quick effect. Immediately after this turn, this effect resolves, Xyz summon on top. So I'm going to special summon this card from graveyard. And then immediately after the effect resolves to special summon, I can quick effect Xyz into, I would like to Xyz into a K9 monster. All the K9 monsters I can Xyz into require 2 level 5s. Lupus is a level 5. If you look at my field, we got no more level 5s. So this is where we have the conversation of like, okay, you had the Azuna in hand. Also, yeah, I had nothing to go into. And then so he's going to synchro summon into a Cupsy. Cupsy effect is going to let him search 2 and discard 1 at this point. I was like, oh, I'm going to do the Lupus to Xyz summon. Wrong timing. So it says immediately after this effect resolves. So you cannot, it is a quick effect, but it has that like timing restriction of immediately after this effect resolves. So you don't get to quick effect Xyz whenever you would like. Azuna had the quick effect that I could have special summoned it because he had activated the Magician's Soul. At this point in the game, y'all, so this he's doing his Cupsy search and discard. We were so confused. I shouldn't say we. I was so confused because I had made so many mistakes and I was having to read so many cards, and I admittedly was starting to get frustrated and keeping track. If you notice how many trigger effects, if you watch this video and you're like, hey, that's a lot of trigger effects. And so much of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is knowing your triggers, and knowing your triggers comes from reading the card, and the trigger has to respond in the window when the trigger was met. And so for the rest of this game, we basically just kind of have a conversation over what I could do, what I did correctly. I will say a really big thing when you're trying to help someone learn Yu-Gi-Oh! Is praise them for what they do right. Especially, well, maybe I'm just talking about me, but I really learn best when there's in teaching, we call it like the feedback sandwich. So you start with a compliment. You're like, hey, you did a really good job of, using your Ripper to negate the magician's soul. What you could have done better is trying to get through as much canine stuff before you went into Keel and when you were locked, and remembering your continuous spells. But the stuff you did get into, like knowing how to get into Keel and then remembering the lupus had the quick effect in Graveyard, was really great. Try it out with anything. Try it out with anything. Anytime you're trying to help someone, it really makes them feel better. So we end up just scooping this game because we're like, I'm confused and my head kind of hurts. Can we move on and try again? And we do end up moving on and trying again because it just got to the point where we were both like, what is even happening? And at this point, we'd been playing for almost half an hour, a singular game. So we end up having a bunch of conversations, and it was definitely a learning game more than an actual game. So yeah, I hope if you're playing Canine or like for hire, that was hopefully helpful. Even if you're not, just some pointers, things to learn. And again, I really think the moral of the story is learning a new deck is really hard, and have patience with yourself, have grace with yourself. Make sure you have people that you can practice and play against where you're not feeling rushed. It takes forever to read all the cards. And this is why I would not go play in tournaments until I felt comfortable. I'm not taking Canine for hire to a tournament anytime soon because I just don't, I feel like it is my responsibility as a player to know what my cards do well enough that I am not slowing down the entire match, because we have 50 minutes. So I will still playing Malice. I plan on playing, I think Malice is going to be my I'll be playing Malice in 10 years because it's just my favorite deck ever. And especially now I feel so good about knowing what to do. But as a reminder, you can know one deck really, really well, and then learning a new deck can feel really frustrating because you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot how to walk and I'm back to crawling, and it makes me feel sad. The baby's taking a nap. So I'm not going to show you Alphonse because he opened one eyeball to look at me. I think he's like, please don't make me move. I'm not going to make him move. But yeah, hopefully that was somewhat helpful, insightful. Caught myself cheating again. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Bye.